If you're tired of the standard business and marketing fundamentals, frameworks, and funnels, you need a little mischief. Get ready to turn up the volume on the CEO Mischief Maker podcast, where you access conversations with seasoned business owners who have smashed through mindset barriers, innovated the standard boring business and marketing playbooks, and executed future-paced strategies with bleeding-edge tools and tactics to micro-fail their way into massive success and growth. We are Mindset Impact Strategic Catalysts helping innovative entrepreneurs focus. We are CEO Mischief Makers. Ready to make a little mischief?
It's Friday. It's Friday. I love Friday. I do. I just love it. All right. CEO Mischief Makers, welcome back to the conversation with myself and Cierra. And if you have not listened to Wednesday's show on impact and innovation, you've got to listen to that puppy. You've got to go, because the way Cierra ended that episode is one of my all-time favorite endings of a show. So I'm just going to leave that there and invite you to listen. But now we get to get down into the weeds. So we started with mindset, 30,000 foot level, right? How do you have to deal with our own self-talk and what we're dealing with on a daily basis? Then we went into more of an impact and innovation and how we can take these frameworks that we're all faced with every day, basic business frameworks, marketing frameworks, launching frameworks, coaching framework, whatever, and how we innovate those to actually do what we want to do in the world. And now we're going to get down into really the details of the strategy and the tactics. So Cierra, you talked about this whole operational framework that you talked about last time, because you're an ops kind of person, you're an implementation kind of person, right?
Yes. I hesitate to say that because I'm so visionary. I try to balance it with the organization. I like things to be organized, and I like things for me when it comes to, because I know we just talked about impact and innovation on Wednesday, but for me, it's really important to be efficient and if there's a simpler way to do something, I mean, I will scrap everything in my program and only teach the simpler way if I find something that works better. And so we constantly, I guess every single quarter, we reflect and review on what we're teaching, and we redo whatever trainings need to be updated. Uh-oh, my camera just went out for some reason. That's so weird.
Oh, there we go. No worries. Yeah. So, and I agree with you. I'm in that balance, right, myself, where I'm very visionary, and I think about mindset and focus on that first. And I have to have a mind map of where I'm going before I can actually go anywhere, right, or do anything. But I love the details. I love to dive down into them and see when you connect this to this is what happens, or testing things and tweaking things. So take me through your whichever framework you want to do. You talked last time about the posting framework, right? The actual content framework. You talked about organizational frameworks. Take one of your strategies that you think is the most impactful, if you want, and then let's dive into it. Let's dive into exactly what is that strategy and how do you implement it?
Sure. So first off, just so that you know where this fits in, content strategy is one of 5 parts that I work on with all of my clients. And so the first part that we work on is actually the first impression strategy, because first impressions set the tone for the entire relationship. My camera is being wonky, so I apologize.
That's all right.
Video, but on podcast, you can't see it. So I'm just going to continue every time that my camera decides to be weird, and we're just going to go with it. But the second part that we work on is actually the content strategy. I try to get my clients to implement that within the first 2 to 3 weeks of working with them. We realistically, after that, we want to work on how they're showing up in their leadership, how they're actually communicating with people. So that's when we dive into messenger scripts. We dive into how are they responding in posts, because there's ways that you can respond in posts that it has a tiny bit to do with the algorithm. It has a lot more to do with psychological level of how you get people to respond. And then the fourth thing, so those 3 things all help build a culture inside of your community, inside of your group, inside of your audience. It's really cool to watch because it's like a cult-like following starts to build up. And then you'll have, like, if somebody ever says anything negative, like on your ads or on any post that you do in the future, you'll have this entire cult-like following come and defend you, and you don't have to do anything, which I think is great because I'm not a very negative person and I don't like conflict as much. So it's fantastic when you get that cult-like following building. But then after that, the next thing we work on is like the collaboration side, because if you have a really big vision and you want to make a really big impact on the world, you're not going to be able to do it on your own. And so we look at, like, how do we collaborate with people who are on the same level? How do we attract the people who are on the higher level? How do we get the people who are maybe wanting to be mentored by us? How do we get them to volunteer? How do we get people on your team? So we're not just talking about paid team, but we're talking about like the other side, the free side of things too. And most people just don't know how to get people to help them make their vision come to life. And so that's the fourth thing that we work on. And then the last thing that we do is we talk about, once we've got all of the frameworks in place, how do we make sure that we can get that impact out to the world and have it be buzzworthy, have it go viral, have it build like a wildfire? And so we've got some little frameworks that we do there. But right now, I want to give you guys piece number 2, which is the quarterly content plan and what we do with that. Are you ready? Like, do you want to break down into that?
Yes. Okay, so first off, thank you for structuring that into those 5 pieces. So CEO Mischief Makers, think about this. There is no one thing that you do, this one thing, and you will reach, quote, success. It's not one thing ever. It is always a series of things. It is always something that you start with and then you build on. So I love the way you put that. And thank you for breaking that down into those 5 steps, because you have to start somewhere. That's the first thing, not one, but the first. And then you build on it and you grow from that. And then you go laterally, you go up, you go side, all the parts then reveal themselves once you start. But if you don't start, nothing's going to reveal itself. So, all right, let's start with the second thing, which is that quarterly content. Go for it.
Oh, okay. Well, just real quick, because you said if you don't start, I just want to add to that. I really like this quote that I got from, like years ago in the network marketing world. And it was, ignorance on fire is better than knowledge on ice. And I think we have a tendency a lot of times to overthink and have like perfectionist mindset. And we just throw this knowledge on ice, and you can learn, you can read all the books in the world, take all the courses in the world. But if you never take action, none of the stuff that you learn sticks. And it's like the action is what puts the glue there so that it can actually stick. Like, you'll have all these people who will take a bowl of spaghetti, throw it at the wall to see what sticks. But while they're waiting to see what sticks, they're grabbing another bowl of spaghetti and throwing it at the other thing of spaghetti. So it knocks down all the stuff that was going to stick. So it's like you have to make sure that you're testing and refining, and that you're taking the action and paying attention and tracking things. Because if you don't have data and you're just being led by how something feels, dude, you're going to have a bad day and you're going to quit and give up. Like, that's just,
right.
that's just how life is. Like, I have bad days.
Yeah. And you won't know what made it bad and what you needed to eliminate, and then what you needed to keep. To keep going. Yeah. If you don't analyze, there's, I think, the biggest mindset shift that I need to say before we could dive into this strategy, because here's where most people stop. They identify emotionally with this step. So they think, okay, if I do this content strategy, the world's going to open up and I'm just going to be a millionaire and it's going to be wonderful. And I'm just going to be so good. And the content strategy was amazing. And they dive into that emotion. So I'm going to caution you right now, anytime we talk about statistics, tactics, strategies, please do not emotionally identify with any of it. You need to look at this part. You can identify with mindset, you can identify with impact and all those things, but this part is where you need to detach your emotions and not say you are either successful or a failure based on how these things play out, because you're not. These things are the changeable things. These things are the things that we test. So, all right, go for it.
Okay, well, just because I like you, I'm actually going to share some things that I've never shared with anybody before. So you guys are in for a treat. So real quick, one thing that I share all the time, and I just feel like everybody needs to know this, so I keep saying it. There are 3 different types of buyers, and most marketing is geared towards only the first type of buyer, who is the person who's ready to buy right away. This is one of the biggest mistakes that I see in social media. It's one of the biggest mistakes that I see inside of people's groups. And yet people just continue to keep doing it, and it kills engagement. It kills culture. It kills the connection that people have with you when all you're ever doing is pitching like they're ready to buy right now. So that first type of buyer are the people who are ready to buy right away. And that's only 15% of the market. Their buying cycle is usually 30 days. The second type of buyer are the people who need a little bit of time to think about it. They want to make sure they're making a good decision. They want to build trust. They want to see some testimonials. They want to make sure that they're making a good investment. Those people's buying cycle is roughly around 90 days. And that is 61% of the market. It is the largest chunk of the market. The third type of buyer are the people who say something along the lines of like, I'm going to buy from you someday, or they're the people who are like, I'm never going to buy. But I can tell you in good and honest truth that those people also will buy. Their buying cycle is just a lot longer. It's usually 6 to 12 months if you are top of mind. Otherwise, it's like a year, 2 years, sometimes 3 years if you're not top of mind all the time. So if you don't have your content strategy in place in a great way, they will eventually buy from you. It's just going to be a while. So just make sure you stick with your business long enough to let them buy from you. But that being said, that's only 24% of the market. And again, those people are the people who are probably swimming in their eyeballs up to debt, like all this debt, and they've made some poor decisions in the past. And so they don't trust their own decisions. They don't trust themselves. They don't trust you yet. And then they don't trust the system either because they've just been burned a lot. And again, those people will buy too after being in a great audience, a great community, being around other people who are getting great results. So again, let's go back. We don't just want to feed our content to the 15% of the market. And that means that you can't come off as you're constantly trying to advertise, as you're constantly trying to get something from somebody. So I really loved this analogy. It's if you picture your audience like a bank, and you go to the bank and you're like, I want to make a withdrawal, but you've never been to that bank before. You do not have an account. They are not going to give you any money. You actually have to go and make deposits. And so the way that we do that is we gear it towards the people who are not ready to buy right away, which means that we want them to engage and connect with us. We want to get them to trust us very quickly. And we want them to have a way to just open the conversation. And so when we build out our content strategy, I like to have a content strategy in place to not only reach the people inside of the community, but to also reach the people on social media platforms and to reach the people in other people's audiences. And I'm always leveraging other people's audiences. This is one thing I teach my clients to do. And that is a very strategic and important part of any business is if you want higher visibility, don't just depend on throwing money at ads, because I promise you, if you're brand new to it, it is going to take you a lot of time. You're going to spend a lot of money and you're going to learn a lot of really hard lessons. If you leverage other people's audiences, it's going to be much faster and you're going to learn a lot more quickly. So that being said, let's look at some of those content pieces. One of the very first things that I make sure that we always have every single week in our content strategy is a piece that is just for engagement. And I call this like a top of funnel piece. If you're not familiar with funnels, top of funnel just means when you get that initial visibility and you're just trying to get people to know who you are, like, hey, you exist. So those top of funnel activities are going to be high engagement. The kind of posts that we like to leverage for those are viral questions. If you don't know what that is, I'm not going to dive into it here today. I can give you an example of one. Would you like an example?
Sure.
Okay, so one of the, like, I would call it notorious or infamous viral questions is pineapple on pizza is the best, or who hates pineapple on pizza, something like that. that will just get a thread going of people who either love it or they hate it. It's just one of those very polarizing things that people just have to share their opinion about. And it takes 2 seconds to share their opinion. People love talking about themselves. So when they get that opportunity, they love to do it. That one has been so overused. That's why it's notorious and infamous, but people still, for some reason, anyone post about it, people will still, and just like 50 to 100 comments, no problem. Another one that's been extremely popular in the business world is what could you talk about without any prompting for 15 minutes? And that's geared around like the TEDx speeches. And so that one, it just gets people, it's actually inspiring, getting people to talk about themselves. Again, people love talking about themselves, but it's just really easy to start conversations. And the biggest thing is that when you're getting visibility, you have to be willing to start conversations with people. Now, you don't have to go into deep conversations and you don't have to spend 5 to 10 minutes with every single person. But if you post that viral question and say you're in a 30,000 member group and you get 300 comments, you have 300 people who are looking at you as a conversation leader. And so it instantly builds authority. The other type of content that we use for that high visibility is going to be story style post. And story style post, my favorite framework for this is Peter Pan, like it's P-A-N, Pan, like Peter Pan, because most people know the story of Peter Pan and it just helps you to remember, okay, story style post, P-A-N. So P stands for pain, the A stands for aha, for that aha moment, and the N stands for what life is like now. And if you'll use that framework, it'll help you to tell better stories. And so if you'll notice, you can actually take this and go back to our Monday mindset call again and listen or watch. And you'll notice that when I talk about my son, I started diving into the pain that would deeply resonate with other people. I got to the aha moment where I talked about how it hit me like a punch to the gut, because that's that aha moment that people are going to be like, they're going to have their own aha moment when they read that. And then I got to the part afterwards about what life is like now, because if I want them to make that mindset shift, if I want them to go on that journey or that path with me, I want to take them through that story. And again, I didn't create these frameworks. I actually learned these from, so I got my original story style framework, which is not Pan, it's a different one. I came up with that one later, but I got the original one from Saba Ali. And she's another online entrepreneur that I got some stuff from in the past. She was brilliant with her stuff then, she's still brilliant with it now. And another course that I went through and got a mentor on was a video marketing course. And he walked me through the whole story style framework that they use for movies, because he's like produced over 40 different documentaries and a few scary movies. And so he walked us through the entire like hero's journey. And so that's where I get my framework from. That's where I built it off of. But again, story style frameworks, people love a great story. And if you can get down to a story style framework and a viral question, you can do online marketing for free without having to throw money at ads and get super high visibility. So again, that's just the first kind of post that we do every single week. The next one, we actually want to build our authority. And you can use story style frameworks to build your authority, but you don't want to just do stories all the time, because it's going to get kind of old if you're just doing the same thing every single time. And so what I like to do on the leadership style post and the ones that display authority is just talk about something that gets people to be like, yeah, you know, something that when they read it, they're like nodding their head like, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's good. Ooh, I knew it. You know, those kind of things where it makes them feel good about their decisions whenever they're reading my post. I also like to polarize a little bit with it, because I want to start weeding out the people that I don't want to work with and start attracting the people that I would love to work with. Like one of the biggest mistakes I saw when I was in network marketing was people would have like a health and wellness business or something like that, or a traveling business, and they'd be like, everyone's my avatar or everyone's my target market. And the reality is that that's just not true. Not everybody is your target market. And I found for me, the people who resonate with me the most are people who are very, very family centered. They want to be with their family. They want to spend more time with their family. They don't want to have to spend all of their time in their business. And I've started to make some shifts in my business even now, where I noticed that out of the 20 clients that I had over the last couple months, that 4 or 5 of them that weren't very family oriented started kind of being like, hey, I think I'm all good. I don't need to show up to trainings anymore. I don't need any more help. And it was because they didn't really want to do all the pieces that I put into my frameworks, which makes total sense. So about a quarter, or like, I guess it's 1/5, about 1/5 of my people that I was working with, I was recognizing were not actually a good fit to work with me. So even though my frameworks will work for probably everybody, not everybody's going to resonate with the reason behind why we do it. So for us, we're very mission, purpose, values driven. We make sure that that's a really big part of what we do. And so I want to make sure that I'm putting that out there forward facing now, so that we can detract the people who are just more transactional and all they're looking for is they want to work 20, 40-hour days. You know, they want to not have weekends where they're just having fun. They want to actually be there and just doing work all the time because they're very focused on transactional achievement. So that being said, your leadership post is where you get to start weeding those people out. The frameworks that I use for those, and it's really simple. It's if you can find a way to put in bullet points and make it easily digestible for mobile, it's going to be the best for social media because people are looking to skim. Your hook, your headline at the beginning needs to be extremely compelling. And then anything before the ... see more needs to just make people want to click see more. Because if you can get their instant attention and you stop their thumb from scrolling the newsfeed, and then you can get them to click see more, you've got them. Hook, line, sinker, you've got them. You've got their attention. You've actually connected with them. You've given them something. And then the biggest thing to remember on this piece of content is you need to have a reason when, like before you finish your post, before you start writing your post, you need to know how do you want them to engage in the comments. And you need to post something that gets them to engage in the comments. And I'm not talking about a CTA because you're not trying to sell on this post. You're just trying to be an authority. And so do you want them to be like, oh my gosh, this is so good? Do you want them to be like, okay, I'm going to try that tomorrow? How do you want them to engage? What do you want them to say? How are you picturing that they're going to engage on this? If you know how they're going to react, then you'll say things. You imagine this whenever you're conversating with some of your friends and you tell a story that's a really funny story, and your friends, like you imagine before you tell the story that your friends are going to laugh. So you're already smiling, you're starting to tell the story, you know that they're going to laugh. So you tell the story a certain way and you have that comedic timing because you know that you want them to laugh. That's what we want to do whenever we're coming to our leadership post. We want to know how we want people to respond before we create the post. So the very last post, and this is the third piece of content that you need to have in your rotation every single week, the very last post that you want to do is some kind of a lead magnet CTA. And yes, you should do direct post for whatever your offer is. Yes, you should do those kind of posts. But in your consistent stuff that you're doing every single week, you want something that's just a soft sell. And when I say lead magnet, it could be something as simple as, MK's podcast episodes. It could be something as simple as a live inside of your group. It could be something as simple as a YouTube video that you posted. It could be, you wrote up some notes or some memos on a very particular kind of topic that you think people might like. And you're just like, hey, if I created this, would you guys like that? That is a CTA post. And it's just a simple question, but you'll get a lot of people engaging and interacting with you. And what we're doing week over week with those CTAs is we're testing to see what kind of stuff are people opting into based on the words that we're using. And those simple CTAs that we do allow us to test words more directly than when we do longer form CTA posts. And CTA, for anyone who's listening and they're like, oh my God, too many acronyms, CTA just means call to action.
Yes. Oh my goodness. All right. I know you're going to have to basically rewind and just listen to everything that Cierra just said, because she went through your controversial post, right? The first one, just to get attention. She went through a story framework post, and she went through a leadership post. And then she talked about a call to action or a lead magnet or some kind of post that actually wants people to take an action that gets them deeper into your world, that gets them to opt in for something. Those, if you just follow that framework and have a different type of post from each of those 4 things every week, look at how many pieces of content you have to test And if you keep track, right, you can go in and look at the actual analytics of your posts if you have a group, and look at what people engaged with. What did they actually respond to? What did they send you put a comment on? How many people were exposed to this post? All those things. You have tons of data, and you cannot make a difference.
By the way, since you just mentioned about the individual post inside of groups, the only way that you can get insights on each individual post is if you have 250 members. So if you just started a group or you have a small group, just go invite a bunch of people that are active online into your group and get to 250 members, because you get these really cool insights on post. So just throwing that out there in case you're like, I don't have insights.
Yeah, you will. But that's the whole point. You have to start doing these kinds of posts. You have to attract people to your group with these kinds of posts. And once you do, and once you regularly have these I'm not talking about repurposing the same content. I'm talking about you've gotten the framework. So it's really not that difficult, and it's not going to take you very long to do one of each of those 4 types of posts, different each week, but still one of each of those 4 types of posts. I can come up with stories all day long. I can come up with controversial topics. As you were talking, Cierra, I was already thinking, okay, I have a group of agency owners. I know exactly what I'm going to say to them to get their attention and get them to come down on one side or another of a particular topic.
And we just did like 2 weeks ago, we did a workshop, and we were training on several of these things. And then as a gift to everyone who attended this, it was our first paid workshop. I built out a Notion board with actual content templates for each of the pieces that I just told you about. And people went and started taking action immediately. And a few people, not everybody, because a lot of people, they have to get it perfect, right?
Right.
So anyways, the ones that started taking action immediately, one person off of their viral question got a booked call within 24 hours. Another person, after posting the second post, which was the leadership style one, had 8 booked calls. And so it's just like, if you will just start putting the information out there, most people just don't even know. Either they don't know you exist, they don't know that you have an offer, and they don't know that you're available for them to work with and that they need you right now. So if you just start putting out this simple stuff, it will open up the door for just consistent leads and consistent sales to come in.
Wow. All right. So again, I think this is going to be a very popular post to go back and rewind and listen and go through all of those steps again. So Cierra, is there one last piece of advice that you would like to give these incredible mischief makers that are listening to our voice right now and watching us to help them just start posting? Just do it. Is there some last piece of advice that you can give?
Well, follow me. I'm just kidding. But no, the biggest thing that I would encourage you is, it doesn't matter what you decide. It just matters that you make a decision and you run with it. Because at the end of the day, like I said before, ignorance on fire is better than knowledge on ice, because ignorance on fire, the faster you can make a mistake, the faster you will learn the lesson that makes you do it better next time. And oh God, I just really want to share this. So I have an 8-year-old who for the last 2 years has been teaching herself gymnastics. And she now, I just put her in gymnastics like 2 weeks ago, but for the last 2 years, she would do a handstand and fall, and do another handstand and fall, and another handstand and fall. And now, like, she's just gotten back up to where she would start doing handstands and she would stick them and they would stay. And then she was able to go into a bridge. And then she was able to come up out of the bridge. And then she started getting better at splits. And now she does splits in the air, like so many crazy things that in the beginning, if I had tried to get her to do it, she probably would have been like, oh my gosh, no, that's too much. And she would have gotten discouraged and tried to stop. And that's why, if you don't take any other action off of what we talked about here today, if all you do is just go post a viral question and get really high visibility with your viral question, you will feel so much better about the other actions. And so, like I mentioned in our other talk on Wednesday, baby steps is extremely important. So start with something small, and viral question is the easiest. It'll take you less than 30 seconds to post it. Go post that first. Don't go post in a dead group. Go into a very highly active group, post it there, and just start to feel that feeling of what it feels like to get that high engagement. And I promise you, it'll help propel you to take the next steps that you need to do to get your content on point.
Okay, hold on. If your mindset was shifted, you were inspired to innovate, and you were spurred into action, don't just move on with your day. Focus, my friend, and take a few minutes to visit CEOmischiefmaker.com to learn more about the value that was shared with you today. Please act now and create some CEO mischief of your own.